Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Guys, happy Monday. It is a thrilling Monday. A Monday with a commitment out of the transfer portal for Wes Miller. Hot breaking news happened a few hours ago, and we're going to dive into it in full extent. Also, a Monday following the conclusion of spring practice with the spring game near to the Coach Scott Satterfield era. Squad looking good. Everything coming together as spring wraps up. Also, a Monday following an epic event that took place in Fifth Third Arena that Chad was at, that Ryan was at, that we're going to also wrap up the discussion on here on this BBP. But it's also Monday where we're going to bring in some guys, some pals, squad. And as always, it is right now 3 of us. So without further ado, Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel, gentlemen, how are we?
Good. It has been a very busy day. It's one of the busier on the phone days I've had in a long time. Usually I don't the only time I spend this much time on the phone is like a coaching search.
Right.
But there's been so many different things that are happening right now that I had to talk to a lot of different people today. I've been on the phone all damn day. I was on Sirius XM Big 12 radio this morning. I was on with the Sick'em 365 guys this evening. I've been on the phone nonstop in between. And now I'm here with you, gentlemen.
Hey, man. The best part of the day starts now. Let's go, baby.
There's like 3 portals open right now, right? You got football, basketball, and basketball.
Women's basketball. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on. I've shared most of it on the board, but I'll have a lot of information to share throughout this excellent adventure that we call the BBP.
Hey, man, one excellent adventure that is. Aaron, how are we, sir? It looks like your forehead got some good sun this weekend. You know, I'm proud of you. Good job. How are we?
My forehead's a little red. I got out and mowed the lawn today too, so I definitely had a hat on for all of that nonsense today.
Quite a man you are.
I mean, it takes almost 4 hours to cut the yard here. So
what?
There's some acreage.
You got 50 acres down there? What's going on?
There's certainly some acreage out here. So
you got a rider? You got a push? What you got?
Damn right, I got a rider. I'm not pushing. We got almost 4 acres. I'm not pushing fucking 4 acres. What are you talking about?
My lawn people showed up this afternoon. They were here for about 20 minutes. My lawn looks perfect. It's great.
Hey, now. See?
It's great. It's the best $50 I spend a week.
Get to that level.
To worry about it.
Yeah, get to that level and things just get done by yourself.
In Aaron's defense, his yard would be a lot more than $50.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And also in Athens,
he'd be paying $250 a week to cut grass, and that's not worth it.
Well, and in Athens, someone has to drive over from Columbus probably to get that done. Athens is the blue collar. Get it done yourself, guys.
Wildly inaccurate. There's every time I go to the gas station to fill up for mowing the yard, there's like 2 or 3 like commercial
full
lawn care. Yeah. They're always out. So they're all over the place because a lot of people have acreage out here and nobody wants to do any of it.
Except for Aaron Smith. So hats off to you, baby. Hats off to you. It's quite a bang up job you do there. Hey, you know what? And sometimes you head to the gas station and it's so cramped because everyone's trying to get gas for their lawnmowers and stuff. And you might rub up against one of those those yellow poles and get a little nick and nanny on your car. Maybe you hit the curb too hard. You get a little bit of a, what's that called, where their tires kind of popping out a little bit? Well, you know what? Whatever it is called, Danco Joe will tell you what it is. You head over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care and get yourself a little fixing. Get yourself 10% off the next service, $10 off your next oil change. Danco Joe will hook you up. So you know what? That's a fantastic weekend. Now, a fantastic week is underway. We're going to dive right into the news of the most recent news. That is one Conor Hickman, Bradley guard, man who yet again the fan base was able to see up close and personal. Another NIT against Cincinnati, now playing at Cincinnati next year for the second straight year after Aziz Bandaogo was involved in the same situation 2 years ago. So Hickman chooses the Bearcats over Indiana. Nebraska was in the mix as well. A handful of other teams, sniffed around, but a 40% shooter from deep on volume this past year. A guy who went on an 8-0 run against this Bearcat team, scoring over Dan Skilling, scoring over Aziz Bandaogo, and hitting some tough threes as well. So obviously, there's been one man who has been on top of the recruitment ever since Conor Hickman entered the transfer portal. And
maybe a little before.
And that's the guy that's sitting next to me. So Chad, obviously been on it since the beginning, but kind of what was the path that led to this, connections and everything now that it's official? Just what did you see? And then obviously the effect that it has of Conor joining the squad.
I mean, obviously, so if you don't know, the Hickman family is from Bloomington.
Bloomington South.
Who else lives in Bloomington? Well, that's the Indiana Elite AAU program is quasi based out of Bloomington. One of their coaches, Mark Adams, who coached Conor Hickman on the AAU circuit as he was on the way up, has a son that has some connections to UC basketball, and Drew Adams. And so Drew recruited Conor Hickman to Bradley, was instrumental in his success there and getting him to Bradley and getting him up and running. Knew the family, everything. The kid, I believe, used to hang out at the Adams house, growing up. So this is one that Drew has been a part of for a really long time. So when there started to be rumblings that Hickman would be looking to potentially enter the portal for his final season, the dots weren't very hard to connect on this one. I mean, I had one high major recruiting coach staff call me and say, is Cincinnati gonna go on this one? Because if they are, we're not going to waste our time. So, I mean, that kind of gives you a brief insight into it was going to be very difficult to beat Cincinnati in this recruitment. That's why I didn't really flinch when we saw a lot of the smoke coming from IU last night and today. One, that he wasn't going to take the visit, which I would have been floored, just absolutely shocked if that happened. And everybody today that on the Indiana side saying Cincinnati didn't have a shot, that just didn't align with any of the info that I had. You always have to be careful, in those situations, because maybe something changed yesterday on the visit that hasn't made it back to you. I treaded lightly, making sure that I didn't stick my neck out and eventually have it lopped off. But I felt good where Cincinnati was from the start. I had good intel from multiple sides of this recruitment: UC side, the recruit side, the some of the schools that were out there either involved or trying to get involved. So I felt pretty good about what we knew on this one. I didn't think it would happen as fast as it did. I had to run to the grocery store to get some supplies for the week. I thought I had, an hour. I got a text saying that something could happen soon. And within 30 seconds, Conor Hickman had put the graphic up. Like, I couldn't even call Keegan. I called Keegan and I said, hey, be ready for it. And he goes, he just put it up. I was like, okay. He
beat the Bearcat eyes. He beat Wes's tweet. It was one of the stranger commitments, because it's like, wait a minute, like, is this real, or is this a fake Conor Hickman account? I guess it's real.
He was just excited.
Yeah, he was. Clearly, the visit was going pretty darn well. Obviously we're going to break down his game and whatnot and what it adds to the team. But Chad, another thing to mention is the fact that Conor was injured his entire senior year of high school basketball, and so a lot of teams would probably not really back off, but kind of like not give the amount of attention that Bradley was giving. And obviously Drew Adams was at Bradley at the time, and the connection was there previously as well. And they honored the scholarship offer. And, there he was, a junior All-American, a junior All-Star in the state of Indiana. Those are big time opportunities for those type of players as well. He was a guy that was a key piece to the team, of a 26-0 team, ranked number 1 in the state in the highest level. So the high school pedigree was there, and then obviously the connections with Drew Adams was intense, and it's a huge reason why he is going to be obviously a Bearcat. A few things about him. Obviously, we're going to break it down more, but he was on the all-freshman team, Missouri Valley. He also was third team all Missouri Valley and first team all tournament team this past year in Missouri Valley. So that's a big time player. He had 25 of the 31 games this past season. He was in double figure scoring. 56% of his shots are actually at the rim, which is a surprising thing to mention because you mentioned how good of a 3-point shooter he is. He can actually score in a variety of ways.
I think people think he's like Jack Golke,
right?
Who shot 300 threes and 8 twos. No, This is a kid that can play off the bounce and is comfortable playing off the bounce, comfortable attacking closeouts, comfortable moving without the ball and cutting and getting layups. That part should excite Aaron because he's more than just like he's going to stand in one spot and wait for you to throw it his way and launch threes. He can get you layups. We saw him score twice over Aziz.
Yeah.
Where Aziz was in good position.
Right.
And Hickman just got the ball over his hands.
No fear. I can finish with the left and the right hand, which is obviously you want everyone to do. But when you do it against a defender like that, it's something to really, take a look at. He has an 18% assist rate, which is pretty solid, not being the primary ball handler. He's really good on the pick and roll. And guess what he can do, Aaron? You're going to love this one too. The man can throw a good lob. A lot of the highlights that I saw of his assists were some lob passes. And, that was obviously a massive topic of conversation. But yeah, it's great to have this sort of an addition. And Aaron, your thoughts when you saw the Hickman news come out and obviously everything that he brings to the team.
I am cautiously optimistic. And I say that solely because the only concern I have, 14 points per game, great. Over 40% from 3, great. Those are all things that you'd like to see. My only concern is they came at Bradley. Bradley and the Missouri Valley Conference they're not the Big 12. They're not anything close to even the American, in my opinion. I don't put a whole lot of stock in Bradley or their conference, but I hope I'm wrong. And I'm again cautiously optimistic. Good.
But the Valley is a very good conference.
Well, we can.
It's not a power conference. It's not a power conference, but of the mid majors, it is one of the 3 or 4 absolute every year best mid major conferences. It is not
American Mountain.
It is not
West,
the
Missouri
ASUN
Valley.
or the Horizon or there's a significant difference in mid major and low major basketball. The Missouri Valley is at the top of mid major basketball.
Well, when you say very good,
no.
When you say very good, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for anything less than average. So I don't know that we can, because you're already setting the bar that high for very good. I don't know.
The Valley has always been a very good conference. Always.
I think we can agree to disagree, but that's fine. That's no big deal. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't expect 14.
A Valley team
I don't expect 14.
did knock out the Bearcats out of the NIT this year, so it's a good conference.
Oh, okay. We won't get into any of that game either, but that's fine.
No, it's and Bradley's actually a team that's pretty solid. They obviously played a lot of teams very well. They beat Utah State in the non-conference in a game that Hickman actually had a really good game. Finished what was his stat line? Let's see here, 21 points. He had 4 assists, 8 rebounds. Hit a couple threes. So Utah State, obviously won the Mountain West, was a big key piece to the tournament success that they had. Won a first round game, then got steamrolled by Purdue. But Hickman was a big reason why they took down the tournament team in the non-con, and he played really well in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament as well. Little Arch Madness, if you will. But he kind of going back to breaking down his game. It's crazy to think about the amount of 3-point shooters that the team now currently has, and sure, obviously pending the health of Frederick, but you have Seamoss and you have Hickman, and those two guys, you look at it, 19 made 3-point jumpers over his career of 90, was 96 total games for Hickman. Seamoss has 30 games of 3 or more threes with 99 total games. This past season, Hickman hit 7 threes deeper than 25 feet. He's 96th percentile in the catch and shoot, 87th percentile in the spot up game as well. It's a guy that really, he's not someone that you're going to come in and say, hey, we need you shooting 15 times a game, but he's a guy that's going to seamlessly fit in to the core that's already established. And now every single three that he took at Bradley when he was at the top of the other team's, scouting report and game plan, those threes are going to be a little bit more open, and he's going to be able to get some good looks and splash them down. So I'm excited to see what his addition is, because it's you can never have enough shooting. I think every single team in the country would agree with that, and I think he has that, but also a little bit more to the position that is needed, scoring on all three levels, if you will.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the question will be, how does he defend at this level? Right. I think that's much more a question than can he score at this level. Is he going to score 15 a game? No, but he's probably not going to be asked to be in a position to score 15 a game.
Right.
But that would be my one, thing that I will be interested in seeing is, what does he look like defending regularly at this level?
Yeah.
But I mean, you still have a couple more spots. We don't know exactly what the roster, how the composition of the roster is going to pan out. Mm-hmm. But they desperately needed another guard.
Right.
They desperately needed another guard.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a kid that is a really solid, fundamentally sound, effective guard that can help you in a multitude of ways. So in that sense, like it's exactly one of the things you needed that this roster was lacking last year.
Yeah. I mean, you continue to look at it, and he defensively, sure, the question marks will be, how is he able to defend in the Big 12 level? But, I also just look at his overall availability. I think he only missed 5 games in his first 3 seasons there at Bradley. And that availability and the ability to improve year in and year out. It's not like he kind of reached a ceiling, his sophomore year and didn't really improve. He took a massive jump this past year, probably one of the more improved players in the entire Missouri Valley Conference. It's a guy that you look. I put a lot of credence into what a lot of other people say in regards to scouting and talent evaluation. And you look on Twitter right now, and people are kind of excited about what Hickman could add to Cincinnati. And I'm talking about national writers and national people that are mentioning, hey, the addition's huge. He's a great shooter, but overall a good offensive player. He's going to add a lot to that guard room. So it's going to be exciting to see exactly what his role is going to be. But other than knocking down some open shots, that's going to be a lot of excitement. It is the 1 year of eligibility left because he committed. He was a class of 2021 guy, so wasn't affected by the COVID
year.
Yeah, so but happy to have that behind us. But yeah, 1 year guy. He played extensively. Started for pretty much all of his freshman year. Was a starter obviously the past 2 seasons in every game. So I mean, there's a lot to like about this edition. And
I think it's pretty simple, Brent.
Yeah.
He's a good basketball player.
Right.
And I think you need as many of those as you can get.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody with, pretty deep connections in the Missouri Valley And they said he's the type of kid where you might look at and think like, okay, we added a bench piece or we added a rotational piece. But then he comes in and works, and he's gonna push whoever you think is going to be the starter is going to be pushed every day by Conor Hickman with the intent of, I am coming to take your job.
Yeah.
He's not coming here to play 14 minutes a game off the bench. But he understands he's going to have to come in, put his head down, grind it out, do the work, and earn that spot. So that's one of those things that I think like that's hard to get a gauge on if a kid is like that or not.
Right.
By all intents, Hickman, that is his personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one reason I'm optimistic about this. And the other, like I said, go get as many good basketball players as you can get.
Right.
Get guys like too many times where we spend entire seasons talking about guys that are athletic and long and can run and jump, but they're not good basketball players. And then you need some of those guys, right? You need some toughness and some guys that can rebound and focus on the dirty work and some of that stuff. But guess what you also need? You need some guys that can just walk on the floor and are good at playing the game of basketball. Yeah. And Hickman, I think, fits that to a T.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm not comparing Hickman at all to Cam Spencer on UConn this past season, but guy that started out at Loyola Maryland, obviously had the one season they played at Rutgers, and then just kind of was a very steady, strong piece on that UConn team this past year. I mean, he's another example of a player that just continuously got better. There's an interview out there of Hickman where he does talk exactly what you just mentioned, Chad, about how he wants to work hard to be the best player on the court at all times. He wants to put in the work and the effort to improve and get better substantially every single year. So that, and then the connection with Adams, obviously, and having that familiarity and having that trust in the staff that they're going to look out for his best interests is another big reason why he's going to probably just hit the ground running and get Ray Felt behind him and see what he can add to take his game to that next level, because it's not like it's just another you're adding a 3-point shooter that, like you said, a goalkie. That's not at all it. It's a gamer, a guy who played Bloomington South is a phenomenal basketball program in the state of Indiana. He's one that
coached well.
Right.
Bradley's coach is outstanding too.
Yeah, exactly. Wardell is a phenomenal coach, and obviously the connections there with Adams is a big reason why. But another thing to look at is, IU came pretty hard on a guy who is from Bloomington. A guy who mentioned that in an article that IU wrote that NIL wasn't really a big deal for him. It's about fit and wanting to kind of get the right connection and get everything going. And I mean, the staff said no, you're not going to IU. They were able to do what they needed to do to get him to go to Cincinnati for his final year, and I think that speaks loudly as well to the staff's ability to out recruit literally a hometown team. It's impressive on numerous levels. Aaron, let's hear some more thoughts out of you. Getting a player from IU, from Bloomington, to join your team down in Cincinnati, it's a lot of excitement there.
I think the biggest thing is it just speaks volumes on what this staff is all about and what they are able to do. Even currently missing a coach, there's a vacancy on the staff, as you'd lose a guy to a head coaching position. But I don't know. I mean, this staff has been, like I said, I know you guys are beating me up for cautiously optimistic. I do trust what this staff is all about, and I do trust what they are doing. I trust their opinion in guys. So again, I'm just looking at the numbers when I say cautiously optimistic, because I don't know that 14 and 42% translates apples to apples from Bradley. That's all. I want to clarify that. I'm not down on this guy. It's just I'm a little nervous.
Well, I just think that you have a poor understanding of the Valley and how good the Valley is. That's all.
Well,
You don't. It's not like you watch the Valley.
And I still look at scores. I still see things. I mean, we're not going to get into a full conversation on the Valley. It's fine. I don't have much respect or love for the Missouri Valley. No, and that's fine.
Well, that's why we didn't give full credence to your cautiously optimistic. And there's reasons to be cautiously optimistic. Like I understand that, but like running at the like I said, like if it's the horizon, if it's Marquez Warwick, and you want to say the kid hasn't played against a lot of high level competition, I would agree.
That's still 2,000 points. Scoring is scoring, one way or the other.
Well, you can't have it both ways. Scored 2,000 points against low major competition.
2,000 though is still 2,000. That's a lot of baskets being scored. Period. 14 points per game is not 2,000 points. They're not the same.
Hickman's 47 points away from 1,000 in his career. I think that's
not 2,000. That is half of that.
He's also 1 year short of what Hickman or what Warwick has played.
Right. Okay. I mean, he scored 449 points this past year. So, I mean, you're talking about if he just added a little bit to that, say he gets 600 points, then you're looking at a 1,500 point score if he would have stayed at Bradley for all 4 years. So it's
and Warwick has been at NKU all 4 years.
Right. It's pretty similar. With tougher competition. I'm texting a buddy who used to coach him at AAU back in the day, and it's just obviously you're going to get some good words about him, but I trust this guy's opinion. He said he's damn good. He's a really smart player. He's really strong. He's a crafty vet that can make plays. So it's, that's something that you hear and something that you understand. My nephew walked into the room. He's gone. Relax.
That it's not my house.
Yeah. Yeah, my nephew Billy wanted to make a quick appearance here on the pod, but no, he definitely
scared the shit out of me.
I know. Well, how about that? No turnover look. I mean, he came in here wearing his boots and probably wanting to hop up on here on the pod, but no. I said no. Let's
Aaron, fake John Goebel does make a great point. The most valuable player in the tournament was a transfer from ECU. You saw UConn also started a guy from Loyola Marymount or Maryland, and Alabama started an Ohio U transfer, a Hofstra transfer, a North Dakota State transfer, a Wofford transfer, and the next guy in minutes was a Cal State Fullerton transfer. Like they were mid-major U, and they made the Final Four.
Okay.
So I think that era of like looking at it that way is kind of over. Like we're seeing that regularly year after year, that these guys are stepping up and still being able to be productive. I don't think with what Cincinnati has returning, I don't think you're asking Conor Hickman to step in and be your leading scorer.
No, I completely agree with that.
I mean, Seamoss, Dan, Jizzle, you're looking at other guys at the top of the roster that you think will lead this team in scoring. If Hickman is a 12-point-a-game guy at the 2-guard spot, where they got virtually nothing last year, think about how much of a difference that makes. And guess what? Cincinnati's got a pretty good defense, and Hickman scored 14.
If he's scoring 12, first off, I'll be shocked. If he's averaging 12 per game, I'll be shocked because I think that puts him in probably the third highest scorer on the team at 12.
I think it's probably about right. 11, 12 points a game.
So going back to Tristan Newton real fast. It's a guy that obviously was a really good player on ECU. ECU didn't win a lot. Bradley won a good amount of games this past year. They were a solid team. And you also want to add into the fact that when Newton first transferred his first year as a starting point guard for a national championship team, he only averaged 10 points per game. So it's like obviously you're gonna get a step back. You're looking for fits at this point. You've got the core is good, and the fit right now is really good. Hickman shot 12 shots a game this past season. You're not going to tell him to come in and like say we need you to take 15 shots this season. You're probably going to say take open looks and make the 40% from deep and make the 55% from inside the arc. Those are all things that can translate. And when you are all of a sudden the third leading scorer or the fourth leading scorer, you will get more open looks. When you have players that are, I mean, look at that game. Jizzle dominated their high volume player, and now you've got Jizzle who will be the guy manning the point and finding an open Hickman. You got Day manning the point and finding open Hickman. I think it's big. And shooting, like this Darren fan is saying, shooting is still shooting. You need shooting. Like, give me shooting. That's one thing that worked. Like he really struggled shooting at times. I think he was 3 of 19 against some Power 5 team this past year. But Hickman is consistently a really solid 3-point shooter, a really solid shooter from inside the arc as well. So,
and hopefully with the weapons you have on offense, you're not asking him to take a bunch of tough shots.
No.
That's going to be the nice thing that hopefully happens with his addition here. He's going to have to take a lot. He's your leading scorer at Bradley. He's going to have to take late shot clock, lower percentage, volume numbers at time. You would hope he doesn't have to really be in that position here, because in late clock, they're going to be looking to CMOS. They'll be looking to Hickman some, but it's not going to be like, okay, we're late clock, you have to go answer the bell 24/7. So yeah, I think it's a really quality add into a backcourt that needed someone like him.
Yeah, I agree. I think our fourth leg is joining us soon. Let's just get his thoughts on Hickman real fast as we bring in the fourth member of this BVP. That's right. Without further ado, Ryan Royer, how are we, sir? Conor Hickman, big time shooter, portal edition. Bearcats add a 40% shooter on volume, a guy who's gotten better every year of his college career at Bradley, and now joins the Cats. Thoughts, Royer? How are we?
Doing well. I like what Chad said, how he's going to push a lot of the guys behind him. I mean, who are starting out in front of him right now, being all the guards, because he's going to be competing for minutes. Obviously, he's going to find a way to get on the floor, and that's going to lead to either A, the guys in front of him got better because he's pushing them, but B, there's going to be times where he's the kind of guy you could bring off the bench who could fill up a quick 8 to 10 points and a half and get hot, and you can kind of lean on him throughout a game. And want that also being, you can have multiple lineups when you might, if CJ's healthy, you could have a lineup where you got Day, Hickman, CJ, and CMOS. That's 4 3-point shooters on the court at once. So the 3-point potential, I think, has just gotten a lot better. I think it's a role that we'll expect him to be able to fill. It just depends on the more he's playing, that just that means he's obviously doing a really good job. So I don't think the more we see of Conor Hickman, I think it's coming at, okay, this guy's one of the better guys on the team, and we need him out on the court because he's making us better. But I think I think the worst side of it, he's just a reliable guy coming off the bench that can put stress on a defense and kind of stretch their D out up past the arc. So I think it's a great ad. I think he'll be a little bit more reliable health-wise than Frederick, and I think he brings a lot more experience than Frederick. So I think it's going to be something that we can kind of say, okay, now I think Hickman can kind of fill that role that we've been hoping Frederick can fill, with an asterisk, if he's healthy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think I liked his game. I think he'll do a great job. I don't think he'll make this team better, whether he's playing a lot or a little.
And kind of going back to just we'll wrap this up here quickly, but coming back to the whole defensive side of things, I mean, you got to admit the team as a whole really came together and were stepping up defensively as the season wore on. And you bring back Day, who obviously is an elite on-ball defender. You bring back Aziz, who has a full season under his belt of understanding Big 12 play and understanding positioning needed defensively, and he was still damn good last year defensively as well. And then you add in Dan Skillings, who is only going to improve defensively because he has all the tools, the length, the athleticism. I think Jizzle would take a step defensively as well. And then
I think we saw Dan specifically improving as the season wore on.
Right.
Like I thought defensively there was a lot more possessions that I felt like, okay, Dan's understanding what is being asked of him.
Right.
At this point.
Which then that kind of leads, and even CMOS. I think the full offseason of the coaching staff getting with CMOS and telling him, listen, you've got all these great pieces. Let's work on your defense and let's work on your rebounding. And if he can just become, take the next step in those developmental wise, then you're talking about not really having too much of a suffrage with any sort of defensive, lapses, if you will, when Hickman's on the floor. And I even saw some plays in his highlights, and obviously they're highlights where, he did kind of, cut through passing lanes and was in the right position on kickouts and kind of, goes back to that, veteran savvy player that knows his spots of where he needs to be on the court at the same time. So it's a good ad. It's definitely a really good ad. One that a lot of teams were after him. One that, when you've got John Goodman and it is what it is. Tweeting about it. Jeff Goodman. I always do that. Jeff Goodman tweeting about it.
Those are two completely different worlds.
Believe me, I know, because I think I've said John like every single time I've wanted to mention Jeff on this podcast. So John Goodman, he might have some thoughts on it if anyone can reach out to him. But yeah, Jeff Goodman tweeting it, like the national people grabbing it and tweeting it tells you that it's a little bit more than just a ho-hum transfer portal edition. So it's exciting. It's awesome. But now the question is, what next? There's still officially 2 open spots on the roster. Obviously, the board is on fire for some other names that have been mentioned. Chad, obviously, you have been all over it from day one, from the jump. What do you think, whether it be names you want to throw out or whether it be just prototypes that you want to throw out, that you think would be the next sort of where the eyes now lead now that Hickman is in the pool?
I know you try to get me to do this every week and haven't figured out yet that I would prefer to talk about portal stuff on the website. But it, you're trying to pull out of me what you can.
Hey, it's for the fans. It's for the fans, man.
I know. I would like for them to continue paying salaries via BearcatJournal.com.
Definitely.
If we give all the milk away from here for free, why would anybody buy the cow, Brent?
Because right. You know what?
Just come here for free milk.
Got to milk that cow, baby.
Obviously, you lose three 7-footers. Essentially, you've got to restock inside. I think that's where the attention, and who knows what order things happen in. Right. But you've got to go at least get a backup to Aziz at the 5, because you have, with the graduation of Odie and John Newman, who played a decent amount of 4, especially earlier in the season.
Yep.
And then Vic, Jamil, and Sage, you had a large number of guys that gave you minutes at the 4 and the 5 spot that are no longer on the roster.
Right.
CMOS, you think kind of slides into that starting power forward role. Stretch 4, modern 4, whatever you want to call it. Aziz is going to start at 5. You get Tyler Betsy and Tyler McKinley coming in, but you need at least one more guy there, maybe ultimately 2. So, Arrington Page's name has been mentioned a few times. Obviously, that is a guy that they were very, very heavily involved with a year ago.
Yep.
Very heavily. Multiple visits to Cincinnati. Took an official visit. Cincinnati was at the top of his list. He ultimately picked USC. He is now in the transfer portal. Those are always, when it gets that far, guys that you want to keep an eye on, because the coaching staff knows everything. It's not speed dating with
Yeah.
Arndt and Page. Like it is, you guys took a break, essentially. You might have cheated on each other. You might have had some
Rekindling the
fun.
flame.
Right. But you were on a break.
You still got a song.
Right. All you got to do is hit play on the boom box and the song plays, and all of a sudden all the emotions come
Those
back.
damn memories come back. I tell you what, man, those damn memories will get you. I just, but yeah.
But so that's something. I think obviously you're always looking for as much. It's a guard wing game now. I still think you could absorb another guard, depending on CJ Frederick and what his long-term plans are. You could afford another guard. You could afford another wing. If Page is somebody you do get, you could still go grab somebody at the 4. I was really excited about Mason Gillis entering the portal. But Duke is sniffing around very heavily on that one.
What was that all about? I saw that. I was like, wow.
He's the type of guy you want on your team, right? He's tough. Yeah. He defends. He rebounds.
Great shooter.
He doesn't. Well, we're getting to that. That's on top of all the other stuff, right? Like, he's a guy at Purdue that fully embraced his role, multiple different roles, did a bunch of different things for that program. So yeah, he's in the transfer portal era. That is about as good of a prospect as you can get because he understands, he gets it, and you can plug and play him, and he's not going to cause issues. So yeah, that was one I was really excited about when his name entered the portal. And then I saw Duke mentioned that I did some checking around, and it's like, yeah, Duke really likes him. Well, that's kind of bullshit.
Good old Duke. Shire's got enough high-level players coming in already. But Dan
or Seamoth at the 4. Kenneth, Dan did not play more than like 90 seconds at the 4 all season. Seamoth played it most every time he was on the floor. So if I had to pick right now, Dan or Seamoth at the 4, it would be the guy that has played it almost exclusively for a year over the guy that's been here 2 years and has not played it at all.
But man, you got to think the next step in that evolution would be obviously having both of them on the court at the same time, with Newman being gone and kind of interchangeable at the 4 as Dan adds more strength to his already very impressive frame. So I
don't know that I want. I mean, you might be able to get him a couple minutes here and there. I don't know that you want Dan at the 4. I think you want him at the
matchups
3.
kind of show throughout.
Yeah, I think you'd want him at the 3.
Yeah.
Pretty exclusively next year.
Yeah. But I tell you what, his rebounding is like, we talked about
it. But that's again, when we talk about this, Brent.
Yeah.
His rebounding at the 4 is pretty standard for a 4.
Right.
Yep. It's not what I'm saying. It's not a huge plus if Dan is playing the 4.
Yeah.
If Dan is playing the 3, he's an elite rebounder from the wing.
Yep.
So,
or even the 2.
We talked about this a lot with Gary Clark. Like, why don't they play him at the 3? Well, because what he does is a significant advantage playing him at the 4. But if you play him at the 3, those advantages go away. A lot of them.
You just got to make sure that Seamoth is rebounding average.
Yeah. And look, that was a major concern the first probably 60% of the year.
Yeah.
But then towards the back end, you saw his effort got better, his understanding of what was being asked from him.
He stopped ball watching.
Yeah. And that was a lot of it. He would just stand there on the weak side and be like, that was my guy. Shit.
He also returned to health after being hit by a car. So that's the last we're going to say about that. Anything more basketball wise, guys? Let's get this rock rolling.
I think I'm all right on the basketball. And for now, there's a lot of other stuff to get to. So we should probably table this for now. And I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next week when we reconvene. There's a lot of happenings right now. The happenings are happening.
Love the good happenings.
Does that mean you want me to
quick paper supply?
Talk about quick paper supply?
Yeah.
Okay. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products. From to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Bang. Which is now the time that we go to my favorite segment every week, and that's when we riff with Royer. So let's go ahead and
Hi, Ryan.
New riff.
Hey, Chad.
Ryan.
How you doing,
buddy? I'm good.
I'm great.
Good.
Great, man. Happy to be here.
Let's
Had a
get
bit
to
of a
our
hectic day, but I'm here, ready to rock.
Yeah, it's been a hectic day. I will give you that.
It has.
This segment brought to you by New Riff. Riffing with Royer. New Riff is fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. They produce award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery-exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code BEARCATS24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com. Let's riff. Let's riff.
Ah.
Let's riff. Well, as you guys know, there's we had a packed house for the podcast showing.
Yeah,
We did.
But
you were there.
I was. But when the spring game rolls around, there's like not that many fans there. Do you ever foresee a spring game where we could have as many fans like we did, like let's call it like a third full of Nippert, as much fans as, like, for example, there was that like the podcast where something, it's not a sporting event, but it's like obviously the spring game's not as big of a thing, but it is kind of like not an official like game. Do you think that we can ever achieve those kind of numbers at a UC football spring game?
I think there have been a couple spring games that the numbers have been about in that range, 10 to 12,000 or so. For the most part, it's probably been more in the 5 to 7 range. I think it's really hard in this market, Ryan. There's so much. I mean, you've got FCs, and it's free, but it's also creating time out of your schedule, and kids with, you're getting to that point in the spring where soccer and baseball and the spring sports are starting to kick up. I just think it's a really difficult ask in this city to get that many people to come out and watch what is essentially a glorified practice, especially coming off a 3-9 season.
Right.
Yeah.
If they win, if they put a string of successful seasons together, you'll see more people there.
Yeah.
I
remember when we were doing as good as we were, there was still the same amount of people there, regardless.
Yeah, I think it's just a tough sell in this town.
Yeah.
I guess in fairness, though, Ryan, you were the whole nation was coming off COVID still when you guys were doing spring ball and what have you. So I don't know, as things were getting back to the new normal, I guess. So I don't know.
Well, also, that 2021 game was was that the cold, chilly, rainy one, or was that the?
Yeah,
that was a weird weather one. So yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing is when you hired Scott Satterfield, there were plenty of people in this fan base that were not high on Scott Satterfield, for starters, and then you have a 3-win season, and it's not going to be the easiest thing to get a similar number to, I don't know, 2 future Hall of Famers who have the #1 podcast, the way one of them's got the Swiftie crowd coming just in case she might show face.
Well, Jason and I talked about this Saturday at the spring game, and he said they thanked 3 groups of people. Right? They thanked UC fans. Pretty good applause. They thanked the 92 percenters, fans of New Heights. Pretty good applause. And then Jason thanked the Swifties, and the roof almost blew off the arena. Like, you heard
When
it.
was that?
I
I don't
remember that,
remember.
Ryan? It was right at the beginning.
Was that? Oh, I walked in like right when I was like scanning my ticket in right when they introduced.
So when they got out there and they first got on stage, they were like, "This is incredible! Thank you to everybody for coming out. We want to thank Bearcat fans. We want to thank the 92 percenters. We want to thank the Swifties." Like, whoa, easy now. But look, man, that is a loyal fan base. Like them, hate them, whatever. They put their money where their mouth is. They show up and they're laughing. And
maybe that's why it was full. I didn't think it was going to be full. I thought I was like, oh, I'll scurry up to the 200s and find a little spot. Hell no, man.
So we did the media availability with Jason at 4:30. That thing is so popular. It is almost have you looked at the analytics, Aaron?
No.
That thing is almost our entire month in page views on this channel.
Jeez.
The Jason media availability. Go look at it right now. Hold on. Don't. You see what the number is? Views?
Jeez.
Yeah.
What, just views?
Yeah. How many views do you think it's got, Brent? Don't look. Don't look.
20,000.
Double.
40,000. Wow.
40.
40,000.
You got it right.
Just on us talking to Jason in the offensive line room for 10 minutes or whatever it was. 40,000 views. Like,
why would people want to see that over this?
If something gets, I know, right?
None of us have a connection to Taylor Swift.
Crazy.
If something like that gets,
because we have a Swiftie hater on the pod.
Yeah. The hate
is now
taking our views away.
Kelce has informed me, Brent, that now she doesn't need me anymore because she has cut out the middleman, and she used to be 2 people removed from Taylor Swift.
Oh.
And now she knows Travis and Jason and Kylie and Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, now I know a lot of people that are 1 person removed from Taylor Swift.
Slowly sliding in.
I don't really need you anymore. And I was like, that's kind of fair.
I mean, how funny would it be? Like, you see her getting ready to like go out. You're like, where are you going? And she's like, oh, Kylie's picking me up for some ice cream real fast.
Yeah.
So like, okay, all right.
So that was actually the highlight of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We were down on the field Saturday. Ryan, I think the other 2 know this. We're down on the field Saturday, and we're walking across like the closed end zone to go down towards like where the steps are to the locker.
To the lock, yeah.
And Kylie walks past, and she looks at me like she's never met me before in her life. Not surprised. And she looks at Kelce and she goes, "Oh, hey, Kelce," and like waves at her. And Kelce literally almost fainted, like on the spot. And she got done and she was like, "Did she just like know me? Did she just like look at me and say my name?" And I was like, "Yeah, your name is her name. Like, your name is, if there's a name that's easier for, the only name that's easier for her to remember is if your name was Kylie."
Kylie knowing me is way better than Jason and Travis knowing me. So,
ooh,
yeah, in the Swiftie world, Kylie is like way up the food chain.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
She's awesome.
She's lovable.
I just didn't know. I could tell that. I just didn't know why the Swifties latched onto her more.
It's a women supporting women thing, and Kylie genuinely is. Like, I don't know if you saw or not, when the show ended Thursday night, they all went to the green room and everybody partied their ass off, and Kylie stayed for 45 minutes, and they literally had to like come get her to pull her away because she was just chatting and signing autographs, taking pictures, and like not a care in the world. Like, it was, just second nature to her. It was the thing to do.
Angel.
She was awesome. She was with Craig most of like. Why does she? What is she? She's friends with Craig? Come on,
Craig Carey.
Yeah.
Swift.
A guy that just talks about Elder all the time. Just that's who she's always
When
with.
they gave him the mic up there, and it was just like he was not expecting it nor wanting it at
No,
all, and I just laughed
no.
my ass off. I was like, I feel
It's
bad
so
for
funny.
that guy.
Like, I love Craig. I joke and give him a hard time because he doesn't want to come on this podcast and get in trouble for talking about things he's not allowed to talk about. But Craig's phenomenal, and when they did that, he's got this outgoing personality until you put a mic in front of him, and then he wants absolutely nothing to do with it.
You can shut a motherfucker down real quick with a mic and a camera. It's a hidden talent, dude.
Oh yeah. Well,
no, I met him at the golf outing. He's a good dude because Bryce Burton and Will Adams know him a little bit through like trying to job network when they were playing football. So they rave about him. I got to meet him. He seems like a great guy.
We're gonna get the full wrap up from you after we riff on the golf outing, your thoughts on the new heights thing, and then everything else from the past week. And so I'm excited. But to kind of go full circle back to the original question, Ryan, there is a chosen few amount of Bearcat fans who, have been able to grasp the excitement of this team, kind of taking that next step and building up from the ground up and, kind of, coming out the mud and whatnot, however you want to say it, and owning up to last year's tough season. Those are the ones that were probably at the spring game, or at least a strong amount of them were. The other fans are ones that probably still are thinking like, oh gosh, doom and gloom, blah, blah, blah. So I think the amount of fans that are there is kind of the ones like the diehards that listen to us and the diehards that kind of are able to follow the team and really kind of have that, the real ones. So it will take winning to get back to that level. And I think, I think the team's on the right path for that. So let's hope.
Yeah. And I got some opinions on that coming up later based on the different people I got to talk to and interact with this weekend. So
hell yeah,
I'll enlighten you guys on my ever so important knowledge.
That's why we
that everyone thinks. Second question is going back to the New Heights thing. Where would you put the importance of that in terms of like an achievement done by like football / basketball? Is like that publicity, revenue, kind of like just overall like excitement factor, like you equivalent that to like a basketball winning the Big 12 tournament or basketball winning a conference championship, or do you want it to equivalent to something like just a big football win, or a football making a bowl game and winning a bowl game, or football winning the Big 12 championship? Like, because we all know what happened by us making the college football playoff, like the amount of buzz, hype, money it kind of brought to the university. How do you kind of rank that? Like, obviously, I don't think the Kelce show is as big as like the playoff football game, but like, how do you kind of rank that in terms of like an athletic achievement by a team?
What a phenomenal question, Ryan.
That is a good
phenomenal question. Aaron, what you got?
I say it's behind. I think it's above probably making or even winning a lot of your lower bowl games. But I would put it behind the Sugar Bowl, behind the Peach Bowl, behind the Cotton Bowl, even just making those bowls as they have. But I would put it probably right there behind it because, again, just everything that it did generate money for the university. It generated money for the NIL. It generated publicity that you can't get anywhere else. But I hats off. That's maybe one of your best questions in this segment.
Thanks.
Brent, go ahead.
Yeah, I like to separate events and games
I do
and
too.
whatnot.
I do too.
Which so I think it goes behind any win we've ever had, but I think that it is
Oh,
in
come on. It's
line.
better than beating ECU at like
Okay,
1
fine,
o'clock on a
fine,
Sunday.
Fine, yes,
It's
okay.
better than that.
I just meant any like good win that would
No, I
like
know, I know.
like bowl games and whatnot. But I mean, in today's day and age, it's extremely important to have that sort of just exposure, if you will. Not really the event itself, even though the event itself, I was getting texts out of people out of the woodworks that are just like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
this New Heights thing looks crazy. Oh wow, Cincinnati looks like it's on fire." Blah blah blah, and I think that and the importance also just the rise of New Heights in general, the rise of Jason Kelce throughout his entire career, now getting shown in a completely new light where he's just a big, lovable, awesome dude. Travis has always been Travis, but him getting that light and obviously adding a huge piece to himself, then all of a sudden you get Joe Burrow on that pod for the event, and Joe Burrow doesn't normally do those kind of things.
That was huge.
Yeah, and you get obviously Dez comes back, and just that amount of exposure, and as Aaron mentioned, the ability to raise NIL funds, the ability to just put more eyes on the University of Cincinnati, and I saw Jason was kind of replying to some tweets about we're Travis chugging a beer for the graduation is such a bad look, blah blah blah, and like he kind of clapped back and he was like saying, "Hey, listen, no, we did this for the university. There's a lot of love. A lot of it was giving back. It's a fundraising situation." And then like some Swifties kind of grabbed hold of that. And I tell you what, if the Swifties hop in on the NIL,
yeah, we're set forever. Nobody's going to have Cincinnati NIL.
Watch out.
You tell the Swifties if everybody donates $10, it's going to make Travis happy. There will be millions in the NIL coffers in the morning.
Watch out. But and then also on top of it, T Swift at Coachella last night, rocking a New Heights hat. We are literally one step away from getting T Swift
a Cincy Reigns hat.
We are one step away.
What would B Fox do
on T Swift?
Would B Fox faint like Kelce?
Pass out, yeah.
I would faint, dude. Come on now. But no. So
kind of like when I saw the video of the sock on my junk. Ross talking about.
Oh, okay.
Is it that level of statement?
I was gonna say I thought there was actually leaked footage of the locker room.
Oh, we tracked down pictures this weekend because so many people were
talking about
it. Oh no!
Yeah, beside the point. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No.
Oh no,
Chad, what you got on
footage?
On question. Good question.
I'm in that group that like I don't equate it really to wins. Here's probably the truth of the matter.
What about if you just put it as like impact? Like,
well, let me get to what it's a one of one. Like, I don't think there's anything you can compare it to, because the only thing that maybe could be done that would be similar would be like McAfee taking his show to West Virginia and doing an event like that to give back to West Virginia's NIL. I think that would be like a pretty damn big sell out the arena type event, with as much as that fan base loves him. Yeah. But that's the beauty of it though, Ryan, is it's one of those things that nobody else can claim. Nobody else can pull off. Nobody else, like, I don't think people understand how insanely unlikely it is to have two guys that combined haven't played for your university in 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
13 and 11, whatever, 24 years that they have not been at the University of Cincinnati, to come back and be at the height of their career. Like, it is the perfect pinnacle of all of this coming together, which is funny because you know why it really came together, right, Ryan?
Why? I didn't know if you were actually wanting me to ask.
Yeah, because of Sigma Sigma.
Yeah, the 125th.
Because Jason had committed to be in town for the events on Friday and Saturday night for Sigma Sigma, which meant he was going to be at the golf outing. He was going to be at the captain's breakfast. So it was an opportunity that you knew, because of that event, that Jason was going to be in town for a couple days, where then you could start working out from the center. Okay, Jason's going to be here. Can we get a commitment from Travis to be here? Can we get a commitment from the production company to want to? And like, if you wonder about like that, I mean, they had, it seemed like 50 people here working the event from Wave Media and like their production arm, whatever. So it takes something like that triggered this, that got them on campus, that put them in a situation where they could do this and partner with Cincy Reigns. So the biggest impact of it, I think, is something it's hard to quantify because nobody else can do it. Yeah. Kentucky, if they brought the 96 championship team back, can put 25,000 people in Rupp Arena. Sure. Mm-hmm. But there's just not a lot of anything in sports right now that looks anything like Jason and Travis. And that is unique to Cincinnati. And I think that makes it a one of one. Like, I understand the want to compare it, but I just don't know what you can compare it to, because it was more popular in the non-sports world, Ryan, than it was in the sports world. It was on the Today Show. Like, it was a national news event that the Kelces did this.
Yeah.
So that makes it different, I think.
And I just, recently listened to their most recent one with Lil Dicky, and like, they're going to start to get a lot of like entertainment and like big names, and
it's going to be more than football, especially in the off season.
Right. And it's going to just continue to grow, man. It's pretty crazy to think about. So
you get the light put on both of them, that like they're not just like they have personality, like they have show this personality, and like people are going to gravitate towards that, whether it be sponsors, whether it be bigger production companies, or just overall celebrities. Like, they're gonna be like, oh, those guys are a good time. Word will get around, like, hey, like, you can come on there and like you're gonna laugh, they're gonna ask great questions. Yep. There's gonna be good clips of you afterwards.
You're going to go viral if you're on this podcast.
Yeah.
And and also the coolest thing about it too was Jason was back at the spring game, obviously, and he was just locked in on the action on the field. So like when he continues,
that's all he wanted was to watch the game.
Right. When he continues to be around the program and whatnot, it's gonna also boost that side of things, where it's gonna help in recruiting. It's gonna help the team itself, and now that he's retired, it's gonna only probably open up the gate for him to be more readily available when the call's there.
He talked to the offensive line for almost an hour.
Yeah.
And kind of was upset because it was a little bit of a last minute thing, that he didn't have like a full like presentation mapped out. He just kind of went up there and shot from the hip. But if you talk to those guys in that room, it's like the greatest thing that they've ever been a part of.
Yep.
Who was telling me what he said?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember who I was talking to. Anyway, essentially it was just like telling the guys like, hey, like, just remember to like enjoy life, and like, because there's so much pressure with college sports to like feel like you got all this stuff you need to accomplish, both like time wise and like goal wise. And you're kind of having a guy that's like accomplished everything in the world, like sitting in front of like a Super Bowl. Yeah. And he's like, hey man, don't forget to like slow down and like smell the roses. Like, this is like a really big time of your life. Like, there's a lot of like some of the most fun times you're ever going to have, whether it be socially or whether it be like, drinking with your boys, or just, college type stuff, and just overall, just like building those relationships. And I just, that's a guy like sitting there in front of you who's like accomplished anything a football player can accomplish, like first ballot Hall of Famer, arguably the best offensive lineman ever, Super Bowl winner, like millionaire, done everything you could possibly get out of the game. And it's still his messages to guys like, hey, like, look where you are right now. Like, this stuff is like just as important, like, to me as all that crazy shit I just did. And I think it just speaks to like the realness of him, and like it speaks to the realness you see him going around with showing up to the Sigma events, showing up to the golf outing, and then doing the podcast.
And you have to understand now for him, like, he can't go anywhere with the only thing that happens is everybody wants to take a picture with him.
Yeah.
Everybody. It's not as crazy as the existence that Travis is in right now, but Jason Kelce can't go to dinner.
Yeah.
Without everybody wanting to say hi, to take you're gracious and you're accommodating, and it's who you are to do the right thing.
Mhm.
I can't imagine it's easy. I can't.
Oh, hell no. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it much lower scale with Alec and Josiah, for example. Like when they come, when their first year they come back, people don't really know who they are. But this past year, they've just, anytime they come back to Cincinnati, they just are constantly getting stop, picture, autograph. And I would just think that'd be hard to be able to handle that and be gracious and nice. But I mean, everything you see with Jason, and it's 50-fold what I've seen with some of my buddies, and still able to kind of handle it like a professional, like a great dude.
A lot of guys just say no to doing something like Sigma because it just means everybody that's at that event wants to come up and take a picture and say hello and get their couple minutes.
Yeah, well, that was the thing about the Sigma thing, where he wasn't getting the whole thing about it is everyone's going around meeting everyone from everywhere, because you got guys that are millionaires, CEOs, just you name it. So everyone's just popping around to everyone, but you didn't see anyone going up to him and bothering him, or lines around his table for pictures and stuff. It wasn't. So I think that's kind of I think that's something that Jason probably really appreciated. And I think it made it more enjoyable for him. And I think he deserved that too, because for him to go back and show the importance of what Sigma is to him and what it means to the university. I think it's just really cool. It makes me really proud to be a part of it, and just proud to know that he's representing it in the utmost way. So I love Jason Kelce, man. He's just he's perfect. He does everything the right way.
I think so many people agree with you.
He does. I mean, it's stone cold fact. He's one of the best of the best.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else, Ryan? You got another
we were kind of rambling. I don't want to keep you guys. It's all right.
You got one more? Fire it away.
Yeah, one more. Fire it.
All right. A little basic one, but obviously out of all the basketball transfer portal guys that we know about, and guys that are realistic to come here, who's your top guy that this is who I want, this is my dream guy. If they can just get him, I'd be happy.
That doesn't really apply to me, so you guys can answer.
We kind of had a question similar to this about a week ago, and about a week ago I said, before there was any mention about him at all, I said Arlington Page, and now there's a little bit of smoke there, and I will double down on Arlington Page.
Dylan Mitchell just entered the portal. That would be an awesome, fun one. So
I saw that.
Let's say him. I'll say him.
Actually,
Chad always likes to play the game.
Kobe Bryant out of Dayton, 51% from three on 202 attempts. I'll take him.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a long line for that one, sir.
Oh yeah, very long.
Aaron, would you be okay with a 3-point shooter that shot 50%?
I hate threes. I hate them so much.
50%.
50% on 200 attempts. On 200 attempts.
I'm ready to go back to the 60s when we don't have a 3-point line. I hate threes so much.
I'm ready to send you back to the 60s to find a radio show to work on.
That's fine.
I can see Aaron now. And another good layup.
No, he's Shane Gillis on the Jackie Robinson skit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, see? Yeah. Here comes Curly Neal. Yeah, see?
It's just
then
so
Oscar
boring.
Robinson showed up.
So boring.
Let's focus on computers. That's my favorite part of the joke.
so good.
I love
That's
it.
Aaron. It's so Aaron. Aaron, can you do that the rest of the podcast in the old timey white person voice, the old timey broadcaster? Yeah, see.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Well, let's timestamp.
All right, that's the BCJ timestamp, brought to you as always by our good friends at Quick Paper Supply. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. They are, you can call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases. There you go.
Well,
Yeah,
let's,
see?
at this point of the day, let's spring ball wrapped up. The spring
Yeah,
game
see?
is
Spring
also
ball,
this
spring
Saturday.
game this weekend, Nippert
This Saturday.
Stadium.
Obviously we had coverage on it. We had articles written already. We had Chad and Keegan on the nightcap wrapping things up as well. Aaron, I'm gonna pass the mic to you, and I want to hear your complete breakdown, your thoughts, your highlights, your lowlights, some names that really stood out to you. Kind of what got you excited on Saturday as you were taking in the beautiful action out on Nippert Stadium.
Brendan Sorsby is a dude. I think that it's safe to say that he is a dude. That said, I thought that I know that it was and Coach alluded to this in his presser as well. It was a watered down offense and a watered down defense. They weren't trying to show anything. They were just trying to get the guys out there, let guys put tape out there. So for anybody who was concerned with what you saw, know that they literally were just trying to let the guys play and make sure that there was tape on everybody and just go do we're going to run 3 plays against 3 plays. You were essentially playing what, Tecmo Bowl? I mean, that's really all you were doing out there, and just plugging and playing. But I think that you got to see some athleticism out of a lot of guys. You got to see it out of Sorsby. You got to see it out of Samaj as well. You got to see it out of Lichty. Lichty is still sneaky fast. I don't care what anybody says. That kid is still sneaky fast. But you got to see there were a lot of guys who were out with whatever type of injury it was, whether it was a big injury. We saw some guys in boots, some guys on scooters and what have you. And then you saw some guys that didn't look like there was much wrong at all, and they were kind of just getting the veteran day off. I'm good with that too, especially when you're looking at the big picture. So you got to see a lot of guys. You got to see guys like Cale Woodburn. You got to see guys like Joe Royer. You got to see guys like Evan Pryor. You got to see guys like Sterling Buckhalter. So I mean, you got to see Manny Covey and who else scored touchdowns? I feel like all the running backs scored touchdowns that weren't named Corey Kiner. But I don't know. You got to see just everybody. It felt like up and down the entirety of the roster. I don't know that anybody necessarily played more than anybody as far as guys who were available. The defense at least looked like they were grasping what this new defense is, and I think at this point in the game, that's all you're hoping for. And it just looked like guys flying around on both sides of the ball. It was very, very difficult to try and know who the hell anybody was without having to look down at the sheet. And by the time you're looking down, there's already a play or two over by the time you found who it was that you were looking for. So thank goodness. I think that even the guy up in the booth,
doing that for 14 days, Aaron. 14 practices of that.
The guy up in the booth who was doing the announcements even at one point said Kalen Carroll, and Kalen Carroll was definitely not playing. He did not bring anybody down. If he did, it was not good because he was on the sideline. So I don't know. We got to see, like I said, just a lot of guys. I don't know that anybody, including the coaches and staff at this point, quite have the ones and twos figured out. So I don't know that it was possible for any of us to know who the ones and twos are yet. But it looked to be what coach is saying, he's saying that it's open competition, and while it may or may not actually be open competition, it at least is looking the part of an open competition because you are genuinely getting to see everybody out there putting a body of work together.
Yeah, I could. Good job, Aaron. Good wrap up. I think the main thing for me was the fact that it was so vanilla. Yes, but man, do you remember the vibes at last year's spring game? It was like a war. Like people were hitting each other hard. There was some
Yeah.
some low key almost skirmishes. It was like a high contact, high velocity. Like these guys kind of didn't like. It's like they didn't like each other, and everyone was out there trying to like prove it against the other one. And you didn't really sense that. You kind of sensed like
I agree.
it was a very nice put together, locked in. Yeah, it was obviously not like there were some big flash plays, yes, but it wasn't like things were really breaking out left and right. But then you look at the amount of high level players, high level starters that were held out of the game for numerous different reasons, and your Xavier Hendersons, your Tony Johnsons, your Corey Kiners, the list goes on. D'Artagnan Tinsley, Jordan Young, Bartlett,
Luke Kandra,
Evan Prater. It just was a laundry list of high level starters, and then
Jordan
also
Young.
Jordan Young. You throw in the whole pod thing, and the pod thing was fascinating because you would have legit probably first team DBs out on the field with probably third string defensive linemen and second string linebackers. So, that side of things was really weird to see. Like,
And then every once in a while, you would look out and the pods would all line up, and you would be like, I think this might be the starting defense,
right,
but I don't know for sure.
right, exactly. But then you saw little small things that kind of really caught your eye. I know the staff has been really high on Brian Sims and his move to linebacker, and it's his first time playing linebacker, and he looks like a damn good
He looks
linebacker.
the part. He does. He looks the part for
He
sure.
supposedly has been flying around and making plays all spring from what I heard, and you saw it out there on the field as well. Then you mentioned the movement of Brady Drogosh over to linebacker, and he's got that kind of look to him, but they want to add probably 13 pounds of muscle is what I was told, and really push him, and he's that young of a player, but yet you saw him out there with Dante Corleone on some plays, and it was wild seeing the pod system work. But you're able to kind of get all these mixes, and now everyone's able to kind of put their full effort out there because, like you said, it's a competition, and so the third string DBs are playing with the first string linebackers, and so they're like, listen, I can just go out there and show what I can do, and now it's going to be a lot of tape breakdown and see who really fits the mold. But one of my main takeaways is that the freshman class is awesome.
It's got a chance to be really good. I'm not going to go as far as awesome yet.
Right.
But in terms of impacting their first spring practice,
yeah, yes.
I mean, almost everybody made an impact. Almost everybody did something this spring that was like, oh,
right.
Okay.
Like Sanks, I tell you what, Quan Sanks looks like a beast. Gravy Johnson has that build to him where you're just like, don't want to say sauce, but he's got that look, that long athleticism. And I thought a lot of the cornerback / DBs had that look, that length, that ability to kind of fly all over the field. Obviously Simeon Coleman has gotten a ton of talk, but my guy Cale Woodburn, buy stock now. That dude can fly. Supposedly there's some questions if he caught that in the corner or not. I'm going to say he caught it. Touchdown. We're going to give it to him.
He caught it.
Yeah.
The refs said he caught it, so
yes,
I think it's safe to go with what the refs said.
There's no review in the spring game, so let's roll with what the ref said. But yeah, it's a beautiful place ball. Barry Jackson was out there for probably 90% of the scrimmage because there was no wide receivers. Sterling Burkhalter had some really good catches. Obviously that one play where Sorsby kind of scrambled out of the pocket and laced it in
down the left sideline.
Yeah, to Burkhalter right at about the 3-yard line. Great catch, great haul. He got hit, taken down right away. But I liked what I saw. I think there's so many pieces. I think the depth has really taken a huge step up. And when you add in the amount of high level, sharpied in starters that were being held out to all those depth pieces that were out there making plays, then you've got, you're playing with a little bit of fire now, and you're able to kind of put together what is a team that we're hoping the team would be.
That's kind of the thing that was very evident about last season. If it wasn't like 3 or 4 guys, they didn't have anybody else on both sides of the ball. Like there were 3 or 4 guys that you could count on to consistently make a play. And then, 7, 8 guys that weren't going to provide much.
Yeah.
And that's how you get in trouble. That's how you struggle. That's how you fail to produce wins. You need to be able to rely on 7, 8, 9 guys. When you looked at it, like Sorsby had a pretty good pocket. There were some times he had to move, and guess what? I'm trying to remember a guy that looks as comfortable throwing on the move like the last time that guy played here.
Yeah.
Who was the last guy that looked that comfortable moving right? Like not necessarily like sprinting or scrambling, but like feeling the pocket, slide shifting one side or the other, keeping his eyes downfield, letting a play develop, and delivering a good ball.
Right.
Like he is really good at it. So, I know there was some take on the boards of like they didn't think he played well. I watched a different spring game.
You know what he seems like is like, and I'm struggling to find the exact word for it, but he seems like a professional, if that makes sense. Like he,
I get what you're saying.
He's got like that mentality to him where it's like, he was in the press conference just confident as can be, kind of just relaxed, understands what he wants to do to succeed, understands, what it looks like to go out there and compete at a high level. And, he had a couple sidearm throws. He had, a couple good looks threading, getting out there. And the amount of times that you hear coaches say that you never know what the running game looks like until you go full tackle. And the same can be said for Brendan Sorsby. So that's a guy who's a big dude, a dude that can get out and run. And you never know what it looks like when you add that part of his game to it. And also the fact that the defense never rushed anyone. They only brought 3 all day. So you have 8 in coverage on every single pass play, which is not going to happen in games. You're going to have, plays where they take gambles, and Sorsby's, threading it to someone who finds an opening and this, that, and the other. So, I thought Sorsby looked good. I thought he's got that confidence. He's got that air of just professionalism to him, where it's like, it's a quarterback that is out there making big time plays. And I'm excited to see what he brings on top of that as well. Another thing, even Gavin Grover, he didn't get many plays throughout, but I was watching him during.
He's gonna be really good, bro. He's gonna be really, really, really good.
Yeah, they were doing like the just doing the drills before the spring game part of it started, and his ability to like snatch balls out of the air and look like an athlete at that size is just it's remarkable, and I'm super excited to see what he brings. Jalen Hunt is a name that has been brought up so many times by
a good spring.
Scott Satterfield and obviously on the practice reports and whatnot. And Satterfield mentioned that he thinks he's the most improved player, and he thinks that he's pushing Dante right there at that nose tackle position. If you think about it, if the opposing team center has to go up against Dante over and over and over again, and then you throw out Jalen Hunt, and he is like, okay, maybe I get a breather here, and then Hunt just turns it on and just blasts the center as well. It's kind of like when Dante and Jawan were manning the nose tackle position together a few years ago. So that's going to be exciting. It's going to be big.
Or a guy that we saw at the spring game. Marquise Copeland.
Yeah, Cope. Exactly.
Hanging out. I asked him, I'm like, Cope, you gonna show up and not wear your Super Bowl ring? How you gonna show up to a party of your peers and not have the ring on? It's like, oh, I forgot it.
And Cope,
breaking news.
Cope, friend of the program as well.
Yes.
That.
Love Cope. Eric Gale from Withrow has committed to Cincinnati. Really, really impressive edge guy. I know they are excited about him. 6'3", long, right? And I think in that like 215, 220 range right now. Hopefully, like as you get into college and put some weight on him, a guy that you can count on to get to the quarterback. But I know they were very excited about Eric Gale as a program.
Yep.
I got to take this call. Roy, are you out there somewhere?
Check out Eric Gale's tape. It's pretty doggone impressive. He's and obviously an edge rusher is the utmost importance, whether it be out of the portal or whether it be through high school. So getting someone that you can get into the program and build and having it be a local guy as well is only another added addition. So welcome to the program, Eric Gale. Roy, you got any questions for Aaron and myself as Chad's on the phone in regards to just the spring game itself?
Yeah, how did the safeties / linebackers look with their new kind of integrated defense scheme with Mr. Veit?
You want to take that, Aaron?
They kind of talked about it after the game was over, just that they were running everything pretty watered down. So I don't know that we really got a true glimpse as to what this defense is going to look like. The quarterbacks were also talking about it in the presser afterwards, that when they were going through practices, everything kind of clicked at about the 8th or 9th practice for the defense, where they looked like they were actually playing defense as opposed to thinking while they were out on the field. But I don't know that what we saw is a fair glimpse as to what this defense is going to look like.
Yeah, I think they're still learning the defense. They said they started to get like all things squared away, and Dingle was the one that was kind of saying, they were able to kind of grasp the scheme and where they need to be, and being able to kind of just fly around without thinking too hard about things. And they were only able to do that within like the last week or week and a half. So I think as the offseason progresses and they continue to pile in on what they can do with the scheme and their familiarity with it, and then obviously Camp Higher Ground will be a huge spot for them to kind of hone in and lock in. But as far as linebackers and safeties go, dude, Roy, you would be fascinated by this pods thing, because it's like the amount of different safeties that rotated in was just insane, and they all like never at some point was I looking out there and I was like, damn, this guy's struggling. Like, it was like they all kind of were making plays. And you had Minkins with an interception to close it out. You had Sanks making big plays all over the field. You had even Peak was out there making plays. Just the amount of names that you hear. Kai Stokes was making some plays. It's just they all are kind of locked in, and I feel like it's after the first couple on the team last year, it was really just like I was like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do now? But at no point on Saturday was I sitting there like, oh whoa, this guy's really struggling to figure out what to do on this play. So I think as familiarity grows up, it'll only improve everything on those fronts.
Good.
Yes.
Anything more on the spring game, Aaron? I want to start to grill Royer for a little bit about his fun-filled weekend.
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah, I obviously there's been so much talk about it. I mean, Samaj Jones looks awesome. He's got a cannon, and he's got the build already, looking like Jalen Hurts a little bit, like a linebacker type build where he's just strong. 17 reps for a quarterback of 225 as a true freshman. Royer, is that pretty impressive?
That's very impressive. Coach Veit was telling me about that on what was that, at the golf outing. We talked to him for a while. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's nuts.
True freshman quarterback. But obviously now the off season kicks in. I'm excited to probably potentially get Nico back on and kind of talk a little bit more about his his off season regimen and whatnot leading into what all to expect as Camp Higher Ground gets closer and closer. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of weapons on the team. You can totally tell, and a lot of weapons that were not even available to play on Saturday. So it's excitement around the program. I think is very valid at this point. But I mean, speaking of excitement, Royer, you had yourself a weekend, man. First off, you did the New Heights, then you were at the golf outing, and man, so who was your foursome at the golf outing?
It was Bryce Byrne, Will Adams, and Jacob Dingle.
Who's wow,
yours truly.
Can Dingle swing a club these days?
Oh yeah, those guys are all really good at golf. They're
Okay.
solid.
Okay.
They all kept saying they didn't have their best day, but compared to me, they looked like fucking Tiger Woods back in the early 2000s.
Is it a scramble?
Yeah, it was a scramble.
Okay.
And
place?
then like behind us, we were supposed to be kind of like paired up with the group behind us, and it was Coach Combs and I forget the name, the D-line coach. I forget his name.
Walt Stewart.
No. Is he new? It's not Walt. He might not be the D-line coach. I forget, whatever. But then it was supposed to be like Jason and Travis, and then Craig Carey and his brother. But then like fucking Combs is like, yeah, they were drinking till 6 a.m. Like, we'll see when they show up.
Well, I saw Jason did show up.
Yeah, Jason showed up about like, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours late, but he had a fucking crew with him. He was like 10 guys. It was like Carey brothers, Derek Wolf, Jason. I didn't even know the other guys. They had like so there was supposed to be like 4. It was supposed to be Jason, Travis, Craig, and Craig's brother. And then they showed up just with an entourage. And Coach Combs and the other coach, which I'm being an ass, not remembering his name. But like we start off at the par 3 surrounded by water, and everyone's like, yeah, Royer, lead us off here. So I go up there, rip a ball like straight into the cart path to my left. Just probably went, I don't know, probably went like 20 yards. Coach Combs is like, now I'm feeling a whole lot better about my golf game. Then everyone proceeds to just go swimming with their balls.
Oh,
so
really?
It wasn't a hot start, but it ended up being like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I was rocking the DeChambeau style hat, just looking like a jackass, but it was fun, man. It was really fun. They did a great job.
Were you swinging like DeChambeau?
I mean, I was putting it all I had into it, but it wasn't going anywhere near.
Like a DeChambeau.
Not that we were the whole. I mean, they gave us great deals on the beer there, so we were just having ourselves a time. At least our group was. But I'm trying to think what else happened there at the golf. We did not win. I don't remember who won, but it was fun. It was a fun time. They did a really good job, like the football department, along with the golf course. It was a blast.
There we go.
Didn't get to meet Jason there or anywhere actually, but he was within close vicinities of me.
All right.
Probably watching me go absolutely atrocious. Go atrocious. Wait, have an absolutely atrocious golf experience. So. But it was fun as hell, man.
It looked like it was a good crowd there, though. What Alex was with?
Huge showing.
Alex was with Josh and
yeah. So since the Kelce entourage was so deep, they were just taking forever. So we just ended up like playing up with Alec, Josh, Will Huber, Basevich, and Coach Satterfield.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out with Satterfield for like 3 hours. Like he was driving me around in my car, in his cart occasionally.
No way.
Yeah, he's a great dude. He's just sitting there listening to like. It was like the 8 of us who were just like all like really close friends. So we're just every story in the book, every backswing, saying some dumb shit.
Right.
And he's just stuck in it. But he was great sport. He was he was laughing at us. He was having fun with us. Like, he was all for the jokes. Like, you guys would think this is funny. So I'm like putting a 15-foot putt. Like, we're going like side bets with those guys.
Right.
And like, I putt first, and like they're all like saying anything you could think of just while I'm trying to putt. I go up, just sink this 15-foot putt, and I completely forget like Satterfield is in our pairing, and I'm just like,
Oh no!
suck my dick, like just screaming that at all these guys. Satterfield's just, I'm like, oh shit, like it's the head football coach right there.
Oh,
and he's just
no.
laughing his ass off. I'm like, all right, thank God, he's got a good sense of humor.
You turn to him and you say it straight at his face. And you're like, oh, my bad.
Not to you, coach, to them, to the other guys. Well, unless you said you were talking shit, then maybe you, but I don't know.
You did too.
And we may have just gotten demonetized.
How was Sat's golf game?
Sat's a good golfer. He's solid, man. He was hanging right in there with Wiley and Alec, and they're really good. They're good players, man. But I got to talk to Satterfield, just kind of like how it's been for him going into this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just talking about how year one's always going to be hell, and like how, you know, year two is like where you can make like the most growth. And he says he agreed, and he was just saying like how he thought the team has done like an awesome job, and he just credited a lot to like Nico in the off season of like getting the guys right. And like he said, they really felt like they kind of like filtered out a lot of the shit that was going on last year and kind of put together like what they think is going to win them games. And he really likes their energy moving forward. You know, just getting to know him too, kind of like as a guy, given like his story of like where he comes from and like his coaching kind of upbringing,
right?
And like where he grew up in North Carolina and like blue collar kind of guy. And, you know, he says all the right things, man. Everything you'd want to hear out of your coach. Just kind of like his experiences and like his take on what he wants out of his players, out of his team, and kind of like how he's been navigating this and the whole NIL thing. And he's going down the line of just let me know kind of what all goes into it and how it's just been hard, but he thinks he's made a good adjustment. And I think he, just based on the things he was telling me, I couldn't think of anything else he should be doing, man.
Yeah.
But it kind of get, you know, like everyone who listens to the show like knows how big of like a fickle guy I am, and how like I was always defending, you know, the old guard, and I always will, because, you know, I love Coach Fickle, and I really enjoyed like playing for him and like the things he stood for. But this really gave me like a good kind of actual personal meeting of Coach Satterfield, and kind of like seeing how he is, not just like as a guy with his visor on, like calling plays, like what he stands for and what he wants his team to stand for, and like kind of like the normal guy he is out on the golf course.
Yeah.
I think this program's in good hands, man. I think he says the things that the team needs to do that should have it win. Now, can he go get them to do it? You know, that's the whole part of the job, and I hope they can. You know, it's got me really kind of pushing behind him now, getting kind of know more about him, and I think he's got what it takes.
Yeah, I think the this past week is like sneaky so important for the next step with, you know, kind of all the alumni and all the, you know, Bearcats have passed really getting behind Satterfield, you know, starting with the Kelce thing on Thursday, and then having the dinner and the golf outing, and people are starting to peel back the layers and kind of realize, hey, listen, let's rally behind Coach Sat. And because I think just having that amount of people even show up at the spring game too, like the Sauce on the sideline, Barwin was there, you know, obviously Jason showed up,
Trent Cole,
Peak, just so many people back at the spring game. Yeah, Cope.
Like we forget, we too easily forget Cope won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
the man has a ring,
and he got
the man
some
is a champion.
Got some PT next to Aaron Donald.
He made one of the biggest plays of their playoff run that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Burton and Adams were there. You forgot to mention that.
Yes, that's right. Pierce was up in the stands. Why didn't Pierce make himself down on the field? What's going on?
I don't know.
Just,
I don't know why he did
That's
that. I
AP,
didn't know.
man. AP doesn't want
just wants
anything
to
to
be the
do with like
common man, man. Just
being put on the video board or
Right.
like he just wants to kind of show up and watch. He's like Jason wanted to watch the game. Jason's not allowed to blend in and watch the game anymore.
Right.
AP can still maybe blend in at least a little.
Got to put him
Not
up in
some, but at least a little.
put him up in what building is that behind the student section? Just give Jason a pair of binoculars, have him sit up there.
Right.
The
Is that
learner
I don't remember what. The hell
oh
that
no,
thing's
on the
called.
other side. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. That old building.
Dude, but no, I just think it's important to see all these people come back. I think for Satterfield too, I think it gives Coach Sat kind of that like feeling of like, okay, all these guys are awesome people. I want to do it not only for myself and for the team, but I want to do it for them too. So I think this past week was huge because I don't remember it being this like big with this much notoriety around it last season at all. It kind of
Well, guess what? The Kelces did new heights, and
right.
that changed the math. Like everybody, there was 15, 20 guys like in that section on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Wolf and
Derek Wolf, man.
Oh my god.
How about that guy, Ryan? Was he looking like a wild man?
Oh my god, got the dreads. Just such a huge human being. Just
so I said to him, like, do you only do Rogan, or like, are you down to do a Bearcat podcast? And he said, I'm in. So we changed numbers.
That Rogan podcast is so funny, man. Hopefully we get some content like that.
At some point, the hope this summer is that we will have Derek Wolf on the show.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome, man.
Need it.
Kind of get back
about killing a panther.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mountain
dude.
lion.
Mountain lion.
Look, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, going on 18 years right now. There's only one person that tops the list of absolutely not. Of like, who would you mess with? There is no chance I would ever, under any circumstance, mess with Derek Wolf. Like, I would be afraid to just, huh?
Is he number one? Is what you're saying,
Oh,
or there's? Oh, I thought you said there was someone else.
No, there's nobody. He is number one on that list, and number two is a sizable gap from number one.
There you go. Dude, Mitch Marotti.
Derek Wolf was so damn good. Like, that dude was unreal. But yeah, that'd be awesome to have him on.
He's like the epitome of like enraged, like violence, just like so many, like you see with so many guys in football. Yeah, like sometimes like when guys try to go full rage mode, like it just like doesn't work out for them. They kind of just lose their mind. He's like the perfect example of like fucking like enraged violence that like is like the perfect form of it that like derives all of the success from 12 year
NFL career. Got him a Super Bowl ring. Like,
he was a great DN for the Broncos.
Massive paychecks too. So shouts to Derek Wolf, man.
That's a guy that
hunt.
like
he can go bow hunt all he wants now. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
Stay with small village, taking down the mountain line.
So security down there, and it's a lot of UC staffers that, like, you know, they know a lot of these guys, whatever. They didn't want them standing up during the podcast and like congregating and chatting, which is a problem for me because I like to stand up and congregate and chat. I got yelled at a couple times, but they would tell, like, you know, if Craig was standing up too long, or I think Huber was talking to somebody standing up and they came over and kind of like, hey, can you guys, like, can you sit down? Nobody said a word to Wolf. Nobody said a word to Wolf. Can you imagine? Like, can you tell that guy to go sit down? No, you tell him to go sit down. I'm fucking doing that. No, sir. No, thank you. If you want him to sit down, my name's Paul, and that's between y'all. I'm gonna stay right here. Excuse me, sir. Could you take your seat, please? No. Okay. I'm gonna go back over here now. Thanks for the chat.
Yep. I'm just gonna walk away with my balls tucked up in between my legs.
No, up in your, like, up about here, like right here. They have gone up and they're not going to drop back down for a while.
Yep.
Golly.
And that's
Well-
the thing, Aaron. He wouldn't even have to go Undertaker. Like, no, he would just be like, no, and you would be like, you're right. You can stand.
You're right.
It's fine.
You're right. You're a good guy. You're a good guy.
Anybody you want to talk to, I'll have them get up and come over here to you. He walked up on stage at one point, like he knew Orlando Brown. Like he just walked up and like dapped up Orlando Brown and Jason, and nobody said a word. Everybody else in that arena would have tried to walk up on that stage and start dapping people up. There would have been a swarm of security. And Wolf did it, and everybody went, no, he's fine. He's good.
There it is, man.
Stay back. Everybody stay back.
Sounds about right.
I mean, I dead serious, Aaron. He just walked up there in the middle of like the crowd cheering. There was some stuff.
How I picture it.
Yeah, he saw his opening, and he just walked up on the stage and started dapping people up, and everybody went, no, this is fine.
I could have told you that all of that was going to happen with him before it all happened. Like,
Right.
None of that surprises me. That's the least surprising thing you've said about the entire night.
Derek Wolf is going to do what he wants to do, and everybody is perfectly fine with it.
That's less surprising than the impromptu graduation ceremony or literally anything else that happened.
Nobody is going to tell Derek Wolf no. No shit. No shit.
I'll take no brainers for 500,
Well,
Alex.
let's timestamp this. We got mailbag, baby. Mailbag time.
All right. That is the timestamp brought to you by our good friends at Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly, low minimum next-day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
There we go.
Let's go.
All right. Let's see about going through this mailbag. We will, as always, start in the football portion of the mailbag. Is it safe to assume that recruits that commit before summer are at the top of the board for the position group for commits? I think that's probably fair to say yes, as they have an actual body of work on tape with the staff, as opposed to the guys who are coming in that do not.
I mean, if I'm reading that right, I would say no. They're just the guys that are ready to commit now. Like, if a guy's not ready to commit now and he still wants to, take a couple official visits in late May, early June, or whatever, he might be higher on your board. He's just not ready to commit yet. The guys that commit now are obviously high on your board, or you wouldn't take their commitment. But I don't think it's fair to say they're at the top of the board because they're ready to commit before somebody else is.
That's true. I guess I did see a tweet even while we were recording this. I don't know if there's any truth or not to it, but said that Louisville apparently has checks that are bouncing in their NIL and people are leaving left and right now. And if that's the case and you're a commit, all of a sudden you are decommitting real quick if you can.
Right.
And now things
So
change.
Merk, I've been doing this a long time. I don't assume anything in recruiting. So to answer your question, it is not safe to assume anything in recruiting, because especially now, no, anything. It's so wild. I don't know. Again, my phone hasn't stopped all day today. And it just, the whole thing, everybody will tell you, like, something, you feel like something's going to happen, and they will hit you with the caveat. Who fucking knows right now, man? Who knows? I think we're all right. I think things are good. I think they're in the right direction. But who knows? This whole thing, is completely unpredictable.
All right. Has a 2-deep been released, either official or unofficial? If so, I seem to have missed it. If not, when might we expect to see one?
So they haven't run ones and twos, especially on defense. We have talked about the pod system. If you want to hear more about it, I asked Scott Satterfield at the very beginning of the spring game press conference to get him on record talking about it. It sounds like they really like what they have gotten out of it this spring, and maybe aren't opposed to taking it into that first portion of higher ground and through the summer. I have what I think to be at least a 1-deep. The 2-deep is really hard because figuring out the twos right now with all the transfers and the freshmen that have looked good, along with, I think we're probably going to get another 6, 7, 8 spots open on this roster. Think about how much different things could be if they add 3, 4, 5 more guys they think are impact type guys sprinkled in throughout the roster.
By the way, entering the portal during the spring game is wild. That was something.
So, I'm working on it. I'm trying to see if I can get to the point where I have 2 deep for every position. As it stands right now, that answer is not clear. And what I don't want to do is put out a 2 deep that's inaccurate or, kind of wildly off base in a couple positions because we haven't seen, okay, we're sending out the 1 defense against the 2 offense, or we're sending out 1v1s. Like, we just haven't seen it. And that changes the ability to accurately do that. And you guys know I don't like putting out something that says 2 deep with my name on it, because what do you guys expect? If I put out a 2 deep, you expect that to be, if not exactly the 2 deep, really damn close to the 2 deep. And right now I'm not fully comfortable in what that looks like. So, working on it, but I don't want to make any promises there. I do hope. So normally we talk to the head coach before spring ball. I delayed that this year to after spring ball because I thought we would know much more. We would get much more out of talking to Scott Satterfield in a sit-down setting after the spring was done and going position by position.
Once he's actually seen the defense that he's running as a head coach.
Right? Aaron, we talked about this before. Like, as I was making this decision, I talked to you about it. And what we were going to sit down with him before spring and go, all right, what do you think about linebacker? And he'll be like,
I've not seen this defense.
What do you think about safety?
Or like, oh, safety? I don't know. I haven't seen half of these guys play in a Bearcat.
Right. So hopefully there will be some answers there, Bearcat Band. And I have, like, one of the main pieces of content we do coming out of the spring is the 2 deep. But it's also because we have 15 practices worth of empirical information. And we have a spring game where there is a defined the 1s against the 2s and the 2s against the 1s.
Luke made it really easy, right?
Well, no, it's been easy for the entirety of the 18 years I've been doing this. Luke continued the tradition of making it easy. Right now, it's not easy. So let me do some more digging. And I'll try to get something up here in the next week or two if I feel it's accurate. If I don't, so we're going to have to wait.
We are in the football portion of the mailbag. Did want to point this out. Ryan Montgomery's mom is here, as she joins us often. And Ryan's going to be down at the Bengals Pro Day along with some other Bearcats and other college athletes tomorrow. So we do wish them luck. Just wanted to put that out there.
What is
moving
Bearcat
on?
Barbecue, though? Have you guys tried it?
I have.
The Grippos, the new Grippos flavor.
Is it the same thing?
No,
Huh.
I'm not sure. I've only had one chip. It is what the secret ingredient is very evident in the one chip that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that if over time that goes away a little bit. It is
Okay.
not it is not a favorite flavor on my palate.
Onion.
No.
Okay.
Raspberry.
Raspberry.
Did
Huh.
not see that coming.
I guess red. Yeah.
It tastes like one chip. If you know, I knew.
Yeah.
So I took that one chip and it was like a raspberry just exploded in my mouth. And I'm not the biggest raspberry fan.
I tell you
But
what,
it
the
still
original
has some of the spice and the heat from Grippos.
Grippos is that's unmatched, right?
It's the best chip ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the best chip ever.
All right.
Any discussion about naming rights for the IPF? Not that I've heard.
How has the NIL philosophy changed with Coach Scott Satterfield's tenure?
I'm going to be honest with you, Bearcat 5029. I try to stay as far away from that as humanly possible. Because unless you are getting the information directly from the source, there's a lot of bad information that goes on in and around NIL. People are lying about how much they're asking for. People are lying about how much they're getting. Schools are lying about how much, and this isn't a UC thing. I have not heard this with UC, but just in general, schools are lying about how much they're going to pay you to come. And then there are stipulations and you end up usually getting a lot less. Like, it is a world where at this point, this early in the NIL structure, I can't get what I feel like are honest answers. And
Only the
again,
NCAA had gotten out ahead of this years ago.
And if I can't feel like I'm getting honest answers, you know, it's tough for me to report heavily on something with confidence because I don't know what's real and what's posturing and what's positioning and I don't feel comfortable again putting my name on something that I don't have a lot of confidence in being the truth. I know that is unfortunately how a lot of this business is done now with people like me just spreading every little bit of information they get, gaslighting their users, members. If I can't effectively just say this is exactly what's happening, I'm not comfortable saying it. So yeah, the philosophy is pretty much it's going to be the same pretty much everywhere. If you're not at the very top of the food chain, you're not spending a ton of NIL on freshmen because by the time those freshmen are ready to play, you might either A, go take a new job and be gone because you won, or B, get fired because you lost. So spending a lot of your NIL resources on freshmen does not make a lot of sense. So transfers, retaining your stars, retaining your top of the roster guys. I think that's where everybody's NIL philosophy should be. I just think in this world, it makes more sense.
All right. Injuries are part of any and all sports other than quarterback. What are the Bearcats most vulnerable to a single injury negatively impacting their season? Where are the Bearcats most vulnerable? Sorry. What position group would you say?
Corner,
they're
wide
injury
receiver.
away?
I mean, I like wide receiver. We saw they didn't have Xavier Henderson. They didn't have Tony Johnson. Wide receiver looked very thin on Saturday.
Yeah.
Cornerback, they didn't have Jordan Young. They didn't have Kalen Carroll. Cornerback looked very thin on Saturday.
Which, by the way, I do want to say, if you haven't watched the Strong Child Reign, the new episode, boy oh boy, I'm high on Jordan Young having himself a massive bounce back season. it's an awesome highlight of him, and Nico goes in on how excited he is, and his transformation of not only his body and his that, but his work ethic and his like commitment and his ability to try and lead the team as well. It's just an awesome feature on Jordan Young. So yes, but I agree. I think quarterback would be the answer to this one, Chad.
I want to just say that I feel actually after Saturday watching offensive line, I feel encouraged about their depth more so than I have in recent years. I was happy to see, even with some guys down, Kandra not playing, Tinsley not playing, I felt like they still looked big.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's fair.
All right. If the 2020 Peach Bowl team played the 2021 Cotton Bowl team, Ryan, I think you might be able to answer this better than anybody. Who are you betting on to win the game?
2021.
2021.
Not even close.
Not even close?
Wow.
I mean, what's the only difference?
No Derek Forrest.
Derek Forrest and then Jared Dokes.
But then everyone else was just clearly better. Everyone else got better in that 2021 year. You're like, everyone else was more dominant, and we filled the holes well enough with big pieces that left, with guys upping their consistency and play level. I think Dez was better.
Do injuries count? Like, are you still without Sauce?
No, you can say Sauce is in both games.
But Sauce was better his senior year.
Yeah.
Or junior year, I mean. So, yeah, landslide 2021.
All right.
I want what's the argument for 2020? Like, if there is one, what's the argument?
James Hudson is able to defend Myjai Sanders a little better than John Williams /
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, who was the tackle? Harper, Darius Harper.
Darius Harper, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the discussion.
I don't like it. It's a bad discussion.
Yeah. maybe Ponder, but then Ponder left, and then all of a sudden Brooks became a beast. So it's like
right.
2021 landslide.
Snarl.
Mm-hmm.
What year 2 or 3 guys do you expect to take a major step forward and challenge for playing time? Jonathan Thompson and Barry Jackson seem to have earned their place, but is there anyone else making a big push? Simeon Coleman.
That's a year 1 guy, though. That's
I know.
I know.
Which is even crazier.
I think Manny Covey had a great spring.
Yeah.
He's in a tough spot, obviously, because there's, he's number 4 on that running back depth chart. But a lot of weight was placed upon him to carry the ball a lot in the spring. And he did himself a service of being effective. So I'll go with him. Man.
Year 2 or 3.
It's almost like upperclassmen and freshmen, man.
Yeah. I mean, Sims, we mentioned.
Yeah, Sims is I don't know if like that linebacker room, there's enough guys ahead of him.
Right.
That I don't know that he's ready to really see the field a ton yet.
Right. I guess Kalen Carroll takes another step.
Amari Burns.
Yeah, Burns.
Burns had a good camp and showed he can play like nose and 3 tech. That's it's kind of the issue that this program has right now, though.
Yeah.
They have a lot of older guys, either via Dante Corleone and the guys that have been around, and then they have older transfers, and then they have young guys, and the roster just does not have a lot in the middle.
Right. I'll throw Jordan Young in.
I mean, he's young.
Yeah,
Xavier Henderson's not as young, but yeah.
like his second year in the program type thing.
But I mean, like young overall.
Right.
Jordan Young at least was like he was a freshman when he
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean for me though, it's kind of like what you were saying. They kind of just like filled the spots that they needed to, but then obviously with the coaching change, you're going to kind of have those gap years where the freshman classes aren't really strong.
Well, the nice part is, go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
How old is Hunt?
This is
He's a senior.
6th year, I think.
6-year senior
last year.
And I was also, what do you guys think about like a Jonathan Harder potentially?
I think that's a name that definitely deserves attention. I don't know that it's going to have an impact this year unless there's injuries.
Tengus Stahl.
You can say the same.
Tengus Stahl
like
is going to rise up. Yeah. Ethan, well, we'll see on Ethan.
Okay.
I didn't see that jump in the spring where I really felt like,
like he had the year before.
Right. So I'm not ruling him out. I'm just saying I'm a little cautiously optimistic on Ethan Green. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Ryan, as a player,
good one.
How big was it to see a successful ex-alumni back on campus supporting the team? As fans, we love it, but as players, does it mean as much for you? We got into it a little bit, but
I mean, obviously Jason's done a great job, but if he doesn't like interface with the players and like how he did, like he came in and talked to the guys, like the players aren't really like, they'll just be kind of like, oh, that was kind of cool, but like there's no real impact. Because like there'd be guys that would come around, but we wouldn't, like if they didn't like come like interact with us anyway, it wasn't like a big deal. It was just kind of, oh, that's cool for the university, but it didn't really like affect our day to day or anything. Like I think Jason's and Travis is a completely different example though. Like they actually like
they're different. Again, it's a one of one, man. They are unlike anything else anyone has.
Yeah. There was like I remember they brought Rick Minner one time, and he kind of knew that like how long he coached, and like he talked to us at camp. And I took a lot away from that. Just kind of like a guy like who gave like his whole career to like Cincinnati, coming back, and like giving us his time. That meant a lot to me because I kind of like knew his kind of like the years he coached and like some of the teams he coached and kind of how he weathered like the ups and downs of like Cincinnati football back then. So I really took a lot from him. Other than that, there wasn't like a ton of guys that like big name alumni that like came through legitimately and like talked to us or like met with position groups. So that's, just depends. You know, Jason obviously stole the cake there, but there hasn't been anything like him.
No, and there never will be. I'll go out on a limb and say there never will be again anything like Jason. Understands all of it, right? He wasn't highly recruited. He was a mutt. Like nobody wanted him. He had to earn everything that was given to him. He wasn't, even with the Eagles, like if you watch a lot of New Heights or a lot of the documentary, he wasn't guaranteed anything at any point in his career there. He just kept working. So he comes from a perspective that very few guys that reached the status that he has reached have had to come from, right? Like there's always usually you're a high level recruit or you get into the NFL and you become kind of Teflon. He had a couple bad years in the middle of his career where the thought was like, okay, being too small is catching up to him, not being big and physical and the prototype that the NFL wants at his position is catching up to him. He was getting bull rushed. He was getting run over by these 6'4", 360-pound guys that were 100 pounds heavier than him. And then he learned a new technique, and then he executed that and kind of went back in the right direction. So, like, I just think with him, it's different because there's so few guys that ever come from where he came from that reached the top of the mountain. And now they have the internet celebrity and everything else that goes along with like what they have become. But hearing from that dude is different, man, because he's been in all of those guys' shoes. He wasn't promised a starting spot when he got here. He wasn't, groomed to be an all-conference guy. He just worked his ass off and did it over and over and over and over again. I think it holds a different weight.
All right. And that is the end of the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. What is Rayvon expected to add to the team this coming season?
Another good player. we don't know. Like, he's a slasher. He's got good size. He's long. He's athletic. He can shoot it a little bit. He's still working on developing the jump shot. I would not call him a knockdown shooter at this stage in his career by any stretch. But I think another long, athletic, top 50 type talent that you're stacking on your roster.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he brings. But you also got to remember it's his redshirt freshman year, so it's like to automatically expect for him to get 20 minutes and dominate.
Right.
I would love to see it, but
Sure.
I think he's going to show flashes where you're like, wow, like this. I'm excited to see what the future brings for Rayvon. And I think it was a little kind of quiet that he said I'm back, but in certain situations like his, you might see like we saw Sincere Harris at Illinois take a redshirt year this past year, and then all of a sudden he's just enters a portal.
Right.
Rayvon didn't do that. Rayvon is locked in. He obviously is one of the first ones cheering on the bench, always the first off the bench to bring up the guys as they head over to the sideline. So I'm all in to see what he brings.
And always getting those extra shots up with Tyler McKinley.
Oh, he's athletic, boy. He's athletic.
Which scares you most about a potential portal prospect when finding out their real reason for leaving the prior school? A, hated the coaching staff, bad fit. B, too far from home, bad geographic decision. C, playing time was below my expectation. D, the only way to get a serious NIL boost was from the portal. E, hated the school campus, academic environment. F, serious family issue required my return home. Or G, coaches recruited it over me.
Nothing really scares me about the portal because every situation is different.
In today's
bad
day and age,
kid,
NIL.
bad kid is really the only thing that jumps out at me because that is universal. They're going to be a bad kid on every roster that they go to.
Dismissed from the team for like being arrested is that would be
like not a good
what
kid.
would scare me. Yeah.
Not a guy that is going to fit in any culture, no matter what you like. Those are the kids that I think you have to be concerned
they're not
about.
talking about people that we would go after in the portal.
Yes, people that we would go after in the portal. What would the reason that they left? What scares you the most about the reason that they left?
Yeah, it would be bad.
If I talk to my basketball people, and my basketball people are like, "That's not a good kid."
Yeah, like
that works.
Low motor. Give me that.
Low motor. Yeah, low motor wasn't on the list of options.
I can only see A and a little bit of B, so I'm out here trying. So that's a long question, Killer B.
I'm never gonna fault a kid. Like one of them is like he wants to go get paid. Well, why should if he's not getting his market at the school he's at,
right?
And his market is larger, why would I hold that against the kid? Why would I think that is a bad kid?
NIL.
I was saying we're
that.
scared about like players leaving the program because someone comes and says, "Hey, I'll offer you $1.1 million to come to our school," and you're like, "Well, that's scary." So
like if you're bringing somebody in, when you hear that this is why they left their team,
right?
Like, I mean,
it's definitely bad kid. Bad kid is the correct answer.
Of those options, I really don't have a problem with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Hickman commitment cross anyone off the board who we have been connected to? I'm assuming they mean like a Kirk Risa or a Warwick.
No, I don't think at this point you're crossing anything off. I still don't think they like. I still think they could use a guard as this thing plays out. Like right now, depending on, I don't think you can count on CJ being healthy. We have been in this situation before a year ago where we said, I don't know that you can count on John Newman to be healthy. And John Newman ended up being healthy for the majority of the season. But with CJ, I think like we don't know physically where he's at. So I think you still only really have 3 guards. I wouldn't mind another guard. So that leaves all the guards still on the board. And you haven't landed a big yet, and you lost a lot of bigs. So no, I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think it just gives you a good start to your transfer portal season. And you have now answered one serious question is, can this team add some more shooting? Because at times last year, they were dreadful shooting the basketball. Got to get more shooters. They added one.
Yep. I'm not sure if this comment from the chat was a joke or a serious question in regards to being a bad kid, but
Zach Harvey wasn't a bad kid. That kid went through a lot.
He had a lot.
You guys don't know. That kid went through a lot. He was not a bad kid. He was a kid that came from a very bad situation.
Would you consider Conor Hickman to be handpicked by Wes and staff and a number 1 option?
No. I think he can work and turn himself into a number 1 option. But, I mean, nobody is going to be handpicked to be a number 1 option the way this roster is currently constructed.
Gotta earn it. Who runs the NIL program for our athletic department? Is it a board of elected employees, athletic director, a separate group? Who has final say on budget and special circumstances for an elite talent?
Cincy Reigns is the NIL. We have had Brian Fox. Like we've given you all of the information you need to know about Cincy Reigns and NIL. I don't know what else to add really at this point.
Go donate. Go. Hurry.
The athletic director and the coaches are not allowed to be running the NIL. It has to be a separate entity. Cincy Reigns is the entity. Brian Fox is the one that kind of controls it. Final say on budget. Come on, man. You know that you're not getting that from me. I appreciate the effort, though, Pat.
Anything on Leffler's spot on the staff yet?
Nope. Not yet.
Who is Trilly Donovan?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer.
I think it's
a
a
good
conglomerate of people.
No, I think there's one person.
Yeah. Maybe.
You don't think it's a whole staff
maybe.
at this point? I think it's a whole staff at this point.
I think there's one person that hears from a lot of people. Like I know behind the mask, he texts college coaches across the country.
Sure.
But no, I think it's one person that has been very smart on building a brand and a business. Kudos to him.
Is the buzz around Dan Skilling, specifically the idea of him leaving early for the NBA, similar to the buzz that surrounded Jacob Evans before his junior season?
Completely different because Dan is just openly saying, this is my last year in college and I'm going to the NBA. Like there was mystery with Jake all the way to the point that he declared for the draft. Dan is telling us now, maybe that changes. Maybe he doesn't have the season that he wants. Maybe he has an even better season than any of us imagine, and it's a no-brainer. But Dan has said all along, my plan is to play 3 years in college and declare for the NBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
And he has made that abundantly clear. He has not shied away from that at all. So we'll see. He has let you know exactly what his intentions are And what do we always say? When someone tells you their intentions, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe him that he will declare for the draft after this season.
Yeah, I agree.
And what would your dream UC basketball focused New Heights type event look like? And is the AD looking to do more special events like this going forward?
Oh, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to get like Kmart and all them back and just chat it up on a stage. But
Well, doesn't Kmart do a podcast, or he did? I don't know if he
does.
If he's
Yeah.
I mean, it would never reach the levels of this, but I do think that you would get a fair amount of people there to listen to, like, you know, a handful of former greats up there just chatting about their time.
Sure.
That's different than what the New Heights thing was.
It's not going to attract 12,500 people.
Right.
It's not. So I like I said, it's a one of one. I don't think there's anything you can do, like when you go into your think tank, other than, you know, maybe Royer and Bryce Burton hosting a show at Fifth Third Arena.
That's one I would go to.
Other than that, I don't know how you look at it and say we want to do something else like that and actually live up to the hype.
I think they should just leave it alone. Let it be what it is.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
All right, that's the basketball portion of the mailbag. Last portion of the mailbag, the banks. Which sports outside of football and basketball garner the most NIL attention / money?
Women's basketball and baseball, I guess. Like those are the two that draw the most attention, but it's not even comparable. It's apples and anchovies.
Well, at least hopefully the baseball players are getting enough NIL money at this point that they're getting full scholarships as opposed to the half scholarships that the NCAA offers them. So, and then the last question, fancy meeting you fellas here. This is in honor of Ryan getting married someday. Best city for a bachelor party.
Oh, baby. Not Branson, Missouri. 100%. Man, I've had a whale of a time in Nashville and in Austin.
The answer's Vegas. Come on. The answer is Vegas. Bachelor party.
I've actually never been to a Vegas bachelor party.
How is that humanly possible? You have gone three trips around the world going to bachelor parties. How have you never been to Vegas?
It's not necessarily like a pick. I don't know the way that
Nashville is fun, especially if you like are in a spot where there's multiple bachelorette parties happening. That's a fun spot.
That's literally what it is. New Orleans is fun.
Yep.
We did.
Memphis was fun.
I'm telling you though, that Austin, Texas is a freaking blast. Oh, Scottsdale, Arizona, freaking blast.
Put-in Bay.
If you're trying to get arrested, Put-in Bay.
I didn't make it past 7 o'clock at my own, so.
I've never. Yeah. No. I'm gonna leave that.
No, he just said no.
Been to a lot of fun bachelor parties. Let's just say that.
Better character in The Hangover: Phil, played by Bradley Cooper, or Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis?
Alan.
In that particular movie.
Alan. Wait, Royer, what's a destination place for your bachelor party or whatever bachelor parties you would want to go to?
I don't know. I don't really. I've never been to Vegas, so that would be fun. I think Nashville's just getting so.
You got to do
destroyed.
It at least twice, man. You got like.
I've been to Nashville like 5 times. It's just like so.
For the bachelor party thing.
Oh no.
I'm telling you, with the huge group and like Aaron said, you run into these bachelorette parties and it's just it turns into a fun time. Let's just say that. I'm leaving.
I want to like. I also wanted to. I want to go over to that Scottsdale area. I heard that place.
Oh, dude, it's unreal.
Austin. I want to go to Austin so bad because I love stand-up comedy and like it's taken off with that now. But the city itself is just the river and like the food there. I feel like it would be sick.
Tell all your friends no to Branson. I mean, it's cool for golf, but come on, man.
So old.
It's Branson, fucking Missouri. Who thinks that's fun?
Yeah, what was that?
Geriatrics.
That's like if your 65-year-old
Frickin'
widowed grandpa is getting married again, you go to Branson, Missouri, and play some golf.
Go to the buffet.
We did not have it. Yeah, it was sucked. All right.
And the last question from Skins here. When is Brent getting married?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I don't quite have the answer to that yet, Skins. So we'll TBD it, but tell you what, it's going to be a whale of a time whenever it does happen. So
I can only imagine his wedding would be during the middle. Brent's wedding would be in the middle of the football season, and it would be not in country, and he would be gone on the honeymoon for probably 3 weeks.
Yeah, so Brent needs a month off for his wedding month.
I did go to a bachelor party in Amsterdam. That was fun.
Did you go to the banana bar?
We actually, yeah. We went a lot of places. Let's just say that.
That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
Skins, it was great to have you back, my friend. Great to have you back. Oh, Adela. Oh, yes. ATL. There we go. But yeah, you know what, guys? Yet again, it's been fun chatting. It was a wild week. You know, big time news right before we hopped on. Going to be big time news all throughout the rest of the week. Chad, this is normally when you kind of sprinkle a nugget if you want to before we wrap up.
Stay tuned. It's going to be a good week. I've been saying it's going to be a good week. I contend it's going to be a very big week in Bearcat sports.
It's only Monday.
I think the conversation, you're not going to want to miss the BCJ podcast Wednesday at 8. I'll tell you that. Okay. You're not going to want to miss that.
There we go. Shouts to Danco, Transmission and Out of Care. Love you, Danco, Joe. Shouts to New Riff and my favorite segment of all time with Riffing with Royer. And then of course, shouts to Quick Paper Supply for all they do. But for my guys, my pals, the crew, the squad, the boys, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.